A million examples of the way that we accidentally commit crimes given our labyrinth of laws, regulations, and procedures in the contemporary United States, but there's one that's very obvious, and that's the filming of this inferno, a wandering cauldron of politically incorrect commentary. Why is this the case? Due to my receiving a copy of Harvey Silverglate's excellent new book, 3 Felonies a Day, How the Feds Target the Innocent, for free from its publisher. What, you're thinking? Well, earlier in the month, the Federocracy declared that I must publicly acknowledge all the books that I receive for free before I recommend them. True story. Now, of course, what I actually got in the mail was an uncorrected galley copy. A galley copy means that it's unfinished and it has no monetary value, and I'm not allowed to resell it. But I have the feeling that if I presented these concerns to the judge, he or she would just wave them away. Moreover, I'd argue that I only accept books that I'm almost positive that I'm going to like. I'm not going to read any fiction, and I'm not going to open any extraneous nonfiction. I'm not going to give out my address to the Oprah Book Club, which may surprise you, and I'm certainly not going to take anything from the nation. But all of my justifications would prove irrelevant, as the feds have spoken. Would my actions have amounted to a felony or a misdemeanor? Frankly, I have no way of knowing. As Silverglate's central theme elucidates, my intentions are immaterial as modern law is discrepant with common law. In the author's words, as we've seen, under traditional notions of criminal law, someone may be convicted of certain classes of felonies only if there's evidence that he had reasons to know that his actions were in violation of the law. This timeless presumption, though, is considered anachronistic nowadays by today's judiciary. Unlike your narrator, attorney, and instructor, Harvey Silverglate is a very important man. So much so that he had Alan Dershowitz pen the introduction, and the author personally represented the likes of Michael Milken and Enron in their attempts for freedom. So his is an extremely insider opinion regarding all of these issues. The prosecutorial misconduct that he observed is telling and frightening. The book itself is a discussion of the emblematic trials in which he participated, and the fact is that nowadays any action on your part that makes it harder for the government to prosecute you can become de facto evidence of your obstruction. Prosecutors now offer deals like the ones that they offered to Michael Matisow. Think back to Inferno number 196. Plead guilty and accept a short but brutal sentence of 6 months of penitentiary suffering, or fight them and you get a 10-year death sentence. I quote the author, "Hence, plea bargaining rather than vigorous defense becomes the order of the day." Sadly, more and more men are finding their way into government hotels because they were afraid of what the consequences would be from proclaiming their innocence. The Leviathan possesses tremendous power to batter private citizens and also the press. As Mr. Silverglate notes, if it is true, the libertarian aphorism that the power to tax is the power to destroy, then it follows with even unlimited contempt sentences and endless escalating fines is a power to destroy any recalcitrant news organization. If you resist and refuse to tell the government what they want to know, they can fine you out of existence. Yeah, and that's really, we're just talking about corporations, but what about with a schmo like me? Almost any mundane fine would destabilize my life. As he puts it, wrongful prosecution of innocent conduct that is twisted into a felony charge has wrecked many an innocent life and career. And it's merely a tiny segment in the text, but I wanted to mention it here due to inherent subscriber interest, the case of Schneidler versus the National Organization of Women, or, as Mark Levin terms it, the National Organization of Really Ugly Women. What Nefarious now attempted to do was to have anti-abortion protesters labeled as racketeers and then prosecuted under the RICO Act, which began as a way to go after the mafia. The radicals tried to say that opposing abortion made you a member of an organized crime syndicate. Now, how's that for tolerating diversity? Although it serves to illustrate the totalitarian and fascist nature of those feminists, a nature that so many of us try to make known to occasional viewers and disinterested third parties everywhere. Silverglate observes the case divided not only pro-choice and anti-choice groups, but also political progressives who are in favor of the right to choose an abortion, and civil libertarians who were pro-choice but unwilling to destroy the First Amendment in the process. But these ITSEs, or international socialists as I like to call them, hate free speech because in any area in which our voices are fairly heard, they're going to get crushed, as things like perpetual privilege based on genitalia is a real loser with the general population. So their eternal strategy is to keep us from speaking. Luckily they lost, yet here was what was at stake per our eminent legal commentator. Now wanted to punish and deter protests aimed at preventing the operation of abortion clinics. Also at stake was whether the federal court could issue a national-wide injunction barring certain types of anti-abortion protests. Had the pro-choice groups succeeded, there would have been an extraordinarily dangerous precedent set that would have lumped together all perfectly legitimate exercises and the constitutionally protected rights of free speech and assembly, along with criminal activities involving violence. Now, I looked the case up after I finished the book, and would you believe that now took it to the Supreme Court 3 times? Remember, to them, the real N-word of hate is only 1 syllable long, and it's no. I'm going to close with Mr. Silverglate's excellent injunction. When the feds appear on the scene claiming to represent the public interest by going after some citizen who had no reasonable way of knowing that his or her conduct could be deemed a felony, do not ask for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for us all. The lesson: make government smaller, and they're not going to have as much power to take away all of your freedoms. Fight the status, and be sure to watch Chapin's Inferno. I'll see you next time.